back to the Heat Check Podcast. I am your host, Chris Patrick. This is episode 28. We're recording this on Saturday, April 13th, 2024. We got a whole slate for you today. As you all know, plenty of news going on in the Valley and with the Valley sports teams. Looks like we might be losing a Valley sports team as the Arizona Coyotes are rumored to be moving to Salt Lake City. Going to start out talking about that. Then, of course, your Arizona Diamondbacks season is underway. They're off to a bit of a rocky start. We got the St. Louis Cardinals Diamondbacks game going on in the background right now. It's the bottom of the fifth. It's 1-1. We'll see if they can pull that out. Then we'll talk about the Suns. They're playoff bound, but will that be through the play-in tournament, or are they going to get that sixth seed? Really hoping it's that sixth seed, guys. And then lastly, of course, the NFL draft is just 2 weeks away, a little less than 2 weeks away. And Cardinals have that fourth spot right now, but they're shopping it. They might be moving off of that and looking for some trade assets. Now, big ask. I think it was like 2 first-rounders, maybe 3. So we'll see. We got plenty to talk about, of course, but have to introduce my co-host here, of course. Joining us, the head coach of the Valley Sports Plug 2024 men's spring softball team, Michael Benjamin.
What up, what up? Hey, we're working through the kinks, but it's been a hell of a lot of fun so far. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be back in the studio with you boys. Love this in person. It's a little bit more intimate, a little more informal, and we're just going to have a conversation as our other co-host really was emphasizing that we must do. And he, of course, is the Arizona Diamondbacks retractable roof operator, VSP Tallman.
Oh, no. So I'm getting fired soon, huh?
Yeah, can you tell us about like the condition right now? Like you can't open that with anyone in the stadium, right?
Get the hell out of here. I don't know anything about the roof.
It'll be like a ghost ship situation, right? Where the cables will be snapping people in half.
Hey, there was a reason for that rain out at Chase Field, right?
Well, yeah, they couldn't close the roof mid-game. I mean, the reports were when I think it was been a couple of years now. They were saying that the fear is that one of the cables could snap and like hurt somebody.
That's some Final Destination stuff right there.
I think someone was telling me that one of the cables did snap at one point.
Oof, I wouldn't be surprised.
So that's sketchy. I'm really surprised with all the money they made, they weren't able to.
Well, they got new lights. They got a new sound system.
They did. The lights are pretty cool.
Yeah.
They need a new screen, though. I don't know. Have you guys been to a game yet this season?
No, not yet.
They still have like the squares in it that are like discolored.
The little tiny.
Yeah, I think I was telling Tallman this. I went to the Yankees game, and every time Rizzo came up, it was like perfectly on his face to where it looked like an emoji tear was like coming down for Rizzo. But I don't know. That's like
poor Rizzo.
I can live with a bit of a beat up scoreboard if they can figure out the roof, maybe some of the other conditions in that park. I mean, it's one of the oldest in the stadium in the league, despite us being one of the youngest franchises in the league. I don't know. But like I said, we're going to lead with talking about the Arizona Coyotes, something we don't do very often and probably won't be doing too much in the future as the rumors broke that apparently the players, according to several reports, were informed before their game on Thursday, I believe it was, that the franchise would be moving to Salt Lake City, and pretty quickly, it sounds like within the next couple months. So that is a major blow. There's some reporting that's been done, a lot of it via X.com, and Arizona Sports 98.7 host John Gambadoro. Mike, do you have those pulled up for us?
Yeah. I mean, Gambo's pretty much the godfather of Arizona sports at this point right now, right? He's very tapped in, so we just kind of trust what he's saying at this point. But he did let a couple of tweets fly, or what do we call them now? X's? Like whatever. Yeah. But he said the sale of the Arizona Cardinals to Ryan Smith, a deal that is not finalized but will get done, will be for $1.2 billion, of which Alex Morello will get $1 billion. And the other $200 million will go to the NHL to be distributed as a relocation fee to NHL owners. And that's pretty similar to any kind of sports, any of our professional sports. When teams leave, there's kind of a relocation fee that goes with it. But he did come out with some other information, I guess, and take what you can from this. And I'm sure we'll have a discussion about it as well. But he was saying that Morello agreed to the sale of the team after he secured a contractual right to reactivate the franchise within 5 years of the date of the agreement and trigger an expansion draft if an arena is built, right? And that would require him to pay back the $1 billion he would get from the sale. But some other things too, he's going to maintain ownership of the Tucson Roadrunners of the AHL, which plays in Tucson. It sounds like they'll negotiate to be an affiliate of the new team in Utah, and they're exploring options of having the Roadrunners play at Mullet Arena. So for you hockey fans out there still might be an option in the Valley to see some hockey, either than, ASU, the Ice Devils, and all that kind of stuff. But guys, what a crazy time right now.
Man, I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. Like, I think, Tallman, you were pointing out when we were talking in the pre-show is like, I haven't really gone to a hockey game in a long ass time. And the last one I went to was out in Glendale when they were still at the time, I think it was jobbing.com arena. Now I think it's Desert Diamond Arena. I gotta ask you guys, get your feelings on it. Give you the floor here, Tallman. What are your initial, feelings on it?
I don't blame him. I really don't. I don't blame the owner for selling the team. I mean, like we've been saying, what is it? Oh no, Mike, you said it. What, 15 years we've been trying to save the Coyotes. So I don't blame them. You get burned by the city of Tempe, all the voters. That vote never had a shot, right? To get them to secure an area to build that entertainment district and get that new arena. And then you have the city of Phoenix, Sky Harbor giving you crap during that whole voting, basically campaigning against you during that active voting session. And then you have the mayor of Scottsdale coming out with that letter. It's very obvious that the people in leadership roles in Phoenix, as in the Valley, they don't want the Coyotes. And I don't blame Morello for selling the team. I mean, the guy's, he's handcuffed at this point. Yeah. Right? I don't blame him. I don't blame him for leaving. I really don't. Is it sad to lose a major sports franchise in such a large market? I mean, it's hard to look at it and go, oh, you're going from what we were running through the numbers last night. Was it 4.5 million people in the Maricopa County?
Yeah.
Versus whatever, I forgot whatever county it's called in Salt Lake City.
I think it's just Salt Lake County.
Is it just Salt Lake? Okay. Well, yeah. You said it was 1.8 million.
Yeah.
So it's about a fourth of
what
what their market's going to shrink to about a fourth of what it used to be.
Significantly, yeah.
But it's our fault. I'm right there with you. I don't know the last time I went to a Coyotes game. I really don't.
Well, right, and I think it's a little bit. I don't want to give me a free pass or anything, because we could certainly plan a trip around going.
Well, because we live so far away.
But that's the thing. We all live in the East Valley, and especially you and I, Tallman, in the last 4 years,
it's ultra East Valley.
We're like, I don't even know if we count as East Valley. We're in freaking Pinal County out here. We're out
a different county.
Almost, if you look at a map, we're outside of the developed valley area, but obviously that even speaks more volumes to how big it's, because it's not just Maricopa County at that point. It's people like us that live in Pinal and Gila County and the Gila River Indian Reservation. Like, all those people are also going to these games. And so you're probably looking at 5.5 million people, if not more, in the area that would be interested in going. Now, I do say that because at this point where I'm living now, what's the difference of driving to Glendale versus Tempe? Like, Tempe is still almost an hour drive. I guess Glendale would be probably an hour and a half from here.
Hour and a half, yeah.
So I mean, there is a difference, and that's a tough proposition on a Tuesday night. But in the past couple years, since they've been playing at Mullet, I think this is their second season playing at Mullet Arena.
I believe so, yeah.
So I did express interest in going that, but because it's such a small, intimate venue, is like the ticket availability is limited, and the resale market and just the sale market in general, like, those aren't cheap tickets.
You couldn't touch one for under 120.
It didn't seem like it.
Yeah, no, and I'm like, okay, I want to support the local team, but at the same time.
Yeah.
Is it worth $120 to go and watch the Coyotes play a game in a college arena?
Well, yeah, and exactly. And like, while we're on that point of it, is the NHL, from what I've heard, didn't want them playing at Mullet Arena again next season, and that's what it was trending towards. Like you point out, the failures of the cities to be able to help this team secure an arena deal, come to any type of agreement. I mean, it's crazy. Like, there's so many places to point the blame, and like we talk about 15 years of this struggle going on. I mean, I think it all really starts when they left Phoenix to go out to Glendale. That really limited how many people were going to want to drive out there to get it done, and then they didn't come to an agreement with them, so they moved out. That's how they ended up at Mullet Arena. And then they had that big sports entertainment complex we've talked about that they wanted to build in Tempe. It was voted down. There was a lot of, influence in that from outside parties, I'm sure. And the airport and the city of Phoenix had a lot to say about it. And then, like you've said, Tallman, the Scottsdale mayor came out and put out a letter.
Well, that was the most recent. as in what's going on. It's the land auction that's going to happen on the 101 in Scottsdale Road, which it's supposed to take place in sometime in June. So that was a recent letter that came out. So that this was their second attempt to secure, some land to develop another entertainment district.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think the NHL, like, that's what kind of, it was like, they were waiting to see if, like, okay, if this goes through and they get an arena deal and they will be in a new arena in 2 to 3 years, we'll let them continue on the course. But since that came out and it's like, it's not going to be a secure thing, do you think that's why the NHL pulled the trigger and we're like, all right, we are going to plan B here?
Yeah, it sounded like almost like the NHL was they already had their minds made up. It was like, hey, we're not going to support one of our franchises playing in a college arena, right? So I think even if they secured that land off of the 101, say 2 months ago, I mean, how long does it take to build a whole entire arena and entertainment? Dude, we're talking.
So I'm saying 2 to 5.
We're talking 3 or 4 years, right?
4 years.
You think the NHL would be like, oh, cool, you bought a dirt lot. Oh, we'll let you play a mullet arena for. Yeah, I mean, you would have hoped maybe, hey, Matt Ish would be like, hey, you guys can come play here until your shit's ready. But, it already seemed like the NHL was like, hey, you guys better figure it out or, we're done. Because that's what's forcing them out. Like that, I said, the owner handcuffed, man. So I don't blame him for saying, you know what? Whatever, I'm going to do what. He's getting paid $1 billion.
Mike, from what.
Is a hockey team worth that much?
Well, now sports teams in general.
Yeah.
Like,
Holy
hell.
hell.
The amount of money that there is in sports franchises these days is insane. But Mike, like, talking about this a little bit deeper is like, where do you really cite the failures? Is it like 100% on the owner? Is it the valley, the city as a whole, or what really forced the NHL to drop the hammer? And I guess I also wanted to ask you this: is like, have you heard of it? Like, if there was an ultimatum given, or did they absolutely force the sale here?
I'll answer your second question. I haven't heard much about any kind of ultimatum. I wouldn't be surprised though. This bullshit has been going on for way too long, too many years after they made the decision to go to Mullet Arena for them to be playing patty cake with figuring out where an arena is going to go. Man, if I'm in the NHL's boots, I'd be saying it's time to shape up or ship out. Like, you have X amount of time to find that land, acquire it. You have to make a promise that the building is going to be done, coded. You can have all the people in there by this time, so you're not stretching out more seasons in a college arena. It's not okay for a professional team to be going that many years in a college setting, like
in a fraction of the capacity.
And one of the things I remember most recently, remember when Minnesota underwent their brand new stadium reset and that kind of stuff? They were in the Gopher Stadium for the University of Minnesota for what? A season?
I think so, yeah.
And we're still playing around trying to figure out where the hell this thing is going to go, and we're clear basically towards the end of season 2. So, man, overall my thoughts in regard to this situation is it's a tough look, and I think the bearer of the blame, Chris, is the state of Arizona and just our fans and the leadership for the Coyotes. It's all of us. It's all of our fault. I mean, that's just the truth. Like, we didn't have enough support of people going to the games out in Glendale for that to be successful. We didn't have the support from the voters to get the land early enough. And we didn't have the leadership from the Coyotes to look to the right places to be putting this team as well. So it's a fault on all accounts, I feel like. And, more blame goes to others. I totally get that. But I'm kind of at a loss, guys. Like, personally, in my opinion, I don't like hockey. Like, I don't follow hockey. So it doesn't hit me as hard as it does for some other people who have been with this team since, 1998?
Yeah.
And sat in that arena at America West Arena and followed along with Jeremy Roenick and Shane Doan and all of that glory days, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the glory days have been so far beyond since what was being brought on the ice. I mean, once again, the Coyotes are going to finish under 500 for how many years in a row?
I think that's the biggest thing is the product on the ice is not, and that's where I think you can point to ownership failures. Like.
Yes, but overall, this franchise just needs a fresh start, man.
It's the best way to put it.
They need a fresh start, and and that's why it's like it makes sense that they're moving on from Arizona because they've tried to get what they need, and this city just seems like the majority of us don't want them.
Yeah, and I think that's very evident from the Tempe vote. Scottsdale saying they don't want them. Phoenix, I think, was even campaigning against them coming there. And it sucks. I think that largely speaks on the fair weather nature of the Valley in general. And it's like, it's hard enough to find hockey fans in the desert as it is. But I'm sure you get transplants here from those cold weather states like Minnesota, but they're going to stay Wild fans. The Canadians that come down here, they're going to stay fans of their Canadian teams. And so it's hard to build an organic hockey following. I mean, the three of us were all born and raised here. We love all like Cardinals, Suns, Diamondbacks, but it's just we're not big hockey fans, and so we're not like, it's hard to get that going. I think it does kind of suck though, because you almost see the writing on the wall for this franchise to start turning the corner. We saw the debut of Jack Doan, I think, the son of Shane Doan, came in, scored 2 goals in his first game ever. Logan Cooley has also been a shining spot for the Coyotes, but they're constantly selling at the trade deadline, finishing below 500, not making the playoffs, and it's like, that's not sustainable. And in a fair weather market, we see it with the Diamondbacks. When they're doing good, when they're a playoff team, people show out. They take off their Yankees jerseys, they take off their Cubs jerseys, and they put on Diamondbacks jerseys and go to those games. We don't have that with the Coyotes. Like, we really don't. And so I think from that perspective, it does kind of suck to think about if this ownership is serious about and passionate about this franchise and doing the things they need to do to get a stadium and have an expansion franchise within the next 5 years, we're not going to have a Jack Doan or a Logan Cooley. Those guys are going to be playing in Salt Lake City for this other team.
You're going to be rebuilding from the bottom floor, and you're going to be worse than you have been over the past 10 years, which has been bad.
Look at the Golden Knights.
You can say look at the Golden
Knights.
Knights.
I'm just kidding.
You know what? Our luck is not that good,
no,
Tallman.
It's not.
That's for
no,
damn
it's,
sure.
It's definitely not.
Come on.
I mean, the way the NHL does the expansion draft, I mean, really any league, I think the NBA and the NHL are the biggest ones to kind of point to as an expansion. I guess the MLB, when's the last time they expanded? When the Nationals came in like 2004?
It's been a while.
But they were just the Expos moving, so I don't even know if they did an expansion draft. So the last
expansion
expansion draft was 96, I think, or 97 with the Tampa Bay Rays and the Arizona Diamondbacks in the MLB. And then the NBA hasn't expanded at all. They just saw the Supersonics move to Oklahoma City.
Same thing, relocation in 2009, right?
Yeah. And then what was it? The New Orleans Hornets rebranded to the Pelicans, and the Bobcats took back the Hornets name for Charlotte. But what I'm saying is, like, in the NHL, like, you're right, Tallman, like the Golden Knights have been able to find success, because what I was originally going to say is that it's a lot of the times when these expansion drafts happens, it's undesirable contracts, which is usually older players that were kind of overpaid. That's how the Golden Knights got Marc-Andre Fleury from the Penguins. Great goalie,
right, yeah.
Probably a future Hall of Fame goalie, if I'm being honest, and that's maybe a little biased as me partially being a Penguins fan.
Get out of here!
But no,
you're not a Penguins fan.
No, not really, because I'm not a hockey fan. Like,
exactly,
I'm a very to say I'm a casual hockey fan is kind of an overstatement, because it's like, aside from the Coyotes or the Penguins being in like the playoffs, or technically at this point in my life, even it'd probably have to be the Stanley Cup Finals for me to be very interested. Now, I will say, if the Yotes were able to pull their shit together and make the playoffs, I'd probably
jump on the bandwagon.
We would jump on the bandwagon real fast.
We would be on the bandwagon.
But all this to bring it back and tie in my long-winded rant of saying, like, you're right, Mike. That is the problem. Is it starts with the Arizona sports fans just not being Coyotes fans, not being hockey fans. And that was always the thing, is hockey in the desert is a tough sell. And when you're consistently bad, there's no buy-in. There's no reason for any casual sports fan in the Valley to buy in. And I think that's really sucks at the end of the day.
I have a general hypothetical question. Do you guys think if NHL happened during the summer that we would have more fans of the Coyotes? Because then you could go to these games when it's 112 degrees out.
Great point, yeah.
Wow. And I can really, really cool down. I don't know.
Cool
I might find
there.
myself going to a few more hockey games if it was during then.
Yeah.
Not when it's during the coldest months of the year.
Yeah.
And we still don't really know what cold is when it comes down to Arizona. But I don't know.
It'd be a good test for sure.
No, you're right.
I just think like the team lost its luster after the first 5-6 years of being in the Valley, and they went to the playoffs a couple of times, but never really saw much success. I mean, when was the last time that we made the Western Finals? Like,
It was like
hasn't happened.
It was only one time.
It was just one time.
We only had
So,
one deep playoff run.
just
I
not
don't
enough
remember the
success
year.
from a team standpoint, and the travel of the stadium out to Glendale just was never going to work for an 82 game schedule or whatever it is. I think it's 82 games.
I think it's pretty
right?
close, yeah.
It just was never going to work. That's why Glendale is okay for the Cardinals, because you make it an all-day affair. When you go out there on a Sunday, you're getting there
you're
early,
gonna travel
you're tailgating.
for a football game.
You know you're going to be out there for a long time.
It's special.
There's only, what, eight home games a season?
Yeah.
So that it makes it worth it.
Unless you're playing in Mexico.
And it's always either it's either a Thursday night, a Sunday morning, or Sunday night or Monday night. Those are the only 3 options, and it's like, and it's not even Sunday morning, because what, the day games out here in the
125,
225,
205, 105.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's always an afternoon game, but that's something you can plan around. You like, I'm going to this. It's you, especially like us. Like, I know that obviously people have season tickets. People want to go to a lot of games, but like guys like us and like regular like Cardinals fans are probably only going to go 1, 2, maybe 3 games a season. Like, so you plan around that. It's like it's an event. It's a big deal. Whereas like you're saying, like the Coyotes, like, what do you do? Like, I guess, do you go out on a Tuesday night game? There are weekend games, obviously. There are Saturday and Sunday games as well, but it's not as much of a
far and few between.
Yeah.
It's hard for us because you guys know the saying, what is it? Hockey doesn't work in the desert, which that's not true. I mean,
well, you look at other warm weather states like
Florida.
Florida.
Florida, yeah. The Florida Panthers, they've been kicking ass.
California even, like San Jose and
yeah.
the
I mean,
But
so
successful franchises in
the
performance.
The Boston Bruins,
That's the thing.
the Pittsburgh
That's the thing.
Penguins,
Successful teams.
all the teams in Canada, you know, like, so it's not part of our culture when we grow up, you know, like
Right.
they all grew up going out to their neighborhood
Minnesota.
pond and putting on the skates and skating around and shooting the puck. Like, we grew up sweating our dick off. Like, with the closest ice, it's in the ice. The closest ice to us is in our cup, and it melts in a minute.
Yeah,
you know, like, it's not. Granted, I think what's supporting a lot of the fans that are supporting the Coyotes are people from different states, people that, I don't know, it's just not something I grew up with. You know, it was this was first a basketball city, and then a football city. I mean, when the Cardinals were kicking ass, dude, this city was. You couldn't drive a block without seeing an Arizona Red Cardinals hat. You know, like, it's, I don't know, it's just never striked me as hockey. Like, I never grew up that way.
Well,
I don't know if you guys were in the same boat.
They've always been the ugly stepchild of
pretty much.
Arizona franchises. That's just the truth, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then the D-backs stole our heart in 01.
Well, that's what.
Then we've cherished that, right? And then obviously last year, like you were saying, the city was electric over that World Series run, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's hard.
I think that's a good way where we can kind of transition into talking about the Diamondbacks, is that if they didn't have that run in like 2020, 2021, 2022, where they were putting competitive teams out there, do you think that they would even have the level of support that they do now if we weren't able to find that early success?
I think they would find some kind of way, just because the entity of baseball as a sport is just so much different than the National Hockey League. I mean, what is the age-old saying? It's America's pastime. Like, take it for what you think. You might not think it is, but
it's our sport.
There's a reason that it's had that nickname for 100 years, right?
Over 100 years.
So there's too many more fans of that for that team, I think, to not garner enough interest in regard to keeping its notoriety for the Valley and keeping people intrigued in some kind of way, right? Like, the only kind of conversations that we've heard from the Coyotes over the past 10 years has been what? Oh no, we're running out of time in our stadium. What's the next plan?
Yeah.
Oh no, we can't find a place to play in this stadium. Do we think they're going to relocate? For years and years and years, that was the only conversations we ever had about this
it's
team.
been land here, land there, bids here,
now,
locations.
Yes, we have had that kind of stuff with the Diamondbacks, but definitely way more infrequent. And most of the time, it's just about, well, what are we going to do to update this freaking stadium that's leaking? That's kind of stuff. Like, that is way farther from is our team going to be sold comparative to how do we make sure that they stick around because we love them that much? Like, you just never truly had those full-fledged conversations, I feel like, with the Coyotes outside of the people who were just absolute diehards. And it wasn't enough people to move a needle whatsoever. It was like trying to find that needle in a haystack to be like, hey, when was the last time you went to a Coyotes game? I don't know. And this is what happens. That's how the cookie crumbles at the end of the day, Chris.
It seems to be the case. I mean, I just don't understand, like, because you're right. You're on point with everything you're saying, where even going to what you were saying, Tallman, with, like, the Suns are the premier franchise in the Valley. Probably Cardinals have secured themselves probably maybe neck and neck with the D-backs, with the D-backs' recent success.
Football is just so popular.
Yeah, football is just such a huge
You can't
sport.
beat it.
Yeah.
You know, like, they sell out every game. Doesn't matter who they're playing and how good they're doing. They sell out every single game.
It's not Cardinals fans there,
Well,
but at
you
least
know
they're selling out.
That, you know what I'm
going,
saying, though. Like, they're not going anywhere. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But
how good they are. It doesn't matter.
The point I wanted to make is that, like, the Suns are the darling and everyone loves them. And you saw how much pushback they got on trying to get public funding for their arena and how many people bitched and moaned and fought tooth and nail against that. It got through. They had a special provision, whatever. They got the funding they needed. And that was Sarver era. So, like, imagine if Ishbia had owned the team when those renovation talks were going on. I guarantee you he probably would have pitched in a little pretty penny to make that one of the nicest stadiums in the league. But also, like, you do need a little bit of public buy-in because there's a lot of like, I'm not trying to get into local politics or anything, but, like, the tax money it generates and the tourism, the hotels, the transportation. It brings people to the downtown area where anytime we go to a game downtown, guys, what are we doing beforehand? We're at least getting a drink somewhere, if not a whole-ass dinner before.
I mean, shit, we've gone to games where we're not, concerts in
certain
too, venues where we stay the night in a hotel down there.
Well, and that's another thing. The nicer the venue, like, it's not just the Suns that play there. The Mercury play there. The Rattlers, I think, still play there. And there's shows that constly, arena shows, Taylor
Justin
Swift
Timberlake.
and Timberlake.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, my God.
He's selling out Footprint. Let's go.
Actually, Footprint might be too small for Taylor Swift. But that's...
Yeah, it is.
She's got to go to State Farm.
Yeah, but that's besides the fact. But my point is like, the Coyotes don't have enough buy-in from the public to even, like, why did they even think that was going to be a possibility when the Suns even got pushed back to where it's like, I don't know, man. Like, should Morello have pushed harder to try and get private funding and buy-in from elsewhere instead of relying so much on public funding? And, like, I guess we could talk in circles and might just be...
Well, no, they were going to put a solid amount in that was private funded.
For the Tempe one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so a good portion of that was going to be private funded. I don't know the exact percentage of it. And then, of course, this whole thing with the land auction off the 101, I think that was just talk. Because, I mean, come on. The dude knew he was going to sell the team 2 months ago.
Yeah, this conversation didn't just happen.
It didn't just happen. And then you have Coyotes social media coming out. They're like, we're here for the long term with the city, and it was like,
and they've been doing that all season
up our ass right now.
And they came out with another statement. I think it was either yesterday or today, where it was basically like, we've heard the rumblings. We just feel horrible for the fan base. Unfortunately, we can't talk about it right now. All the ESPN was reporting yesterday that things are finalized and that the team players were told already.
Yeah.
Like,
so
why are you waiting?
That was one thing that we talked about last night.
Yeah.
I said, how much bullshit is that? That's how we, the people of Phoenix, Arizona, learn about how we're losing our hockey team. Oh, the coaching staff told all the players before they played the game last night. Okay, like, what? That's all we deserve?
Well,
how about
like
you
even
set
the
up
coach
that
was
press
in the
conference and then let us be like, hey, all right, well, press conference on Tuesday, they're going to say they're selling the team.
Yeah.
Let us stew on that and then do an official say, hey, bullshit. So now we already know they're still going to do some type of press conference.
Of
you
course.
know that. And then it's just going to be just boo-hoo bullshit that they're going to, I don't know. Actually, I'm kind of curious to see it. I want to know what he puts the blame on.
But we live in the world of leaks, right? Like, unless these rumblings started to happen, then they caught wind and then they jumped at it and said, okay, let's get a press conference scheduled right away. Like, there was going to be no way that this information would get out and people would be okay. Like
Yeah.
the longer they wait, the worse that it becomes, right?
True, very true. Yeah,
Fellas, this is where I'm at. This is my last statement I'm going to make about the Coyotes for right now, because
Your last one ever.
If you
They're not
guys-
going to be a team anymore.
If you guys want to have any other dialogue about this for the rest of this podcast, it's on you. I'm done with this. That's just how it is. Absolute ineptitude from this organization for the past decade. The people have spoken. They don't want this team here anymore. It's time for them to get a fresh start, and it's time for them to go. I feel absolutely horrible for all you Coyotes fans and the people who have followed this team and who have reported on this team and who have jobs around this team, because good Lord, I hope you don't have to move to Utah and live there if you still follow this team. But this has been so long of just absolute nothing, running around with a hamster wheel trying to figure out what to do with this franchise. I'm almost kind of happy that it's sold and it's out of here. It's an absolute horrible look for the Valley.
yeah.
For this Metropolitan to not have all professional sports teams here, we're too big to not have it.
Yep.
But for this bullshit to be happening for this long, it's time to go. And I shake your hand while you walk out the door, and I wish the best for you. But that's it. Like, I'm done with this. I'm absolutely done.
Well said.
I honestly, it's hard to disagree, right? Because I agree. Like, I agree in as far as I do want a franchise, an NHL franchise in the Valley. We deserve to have all 4 major sports teams. But just failure after failure on so many levels. Not any one person holds responsibility. Obviously, I think ownership holds a large lion's share of that responsibility. But like we said, the fans also played a role in the reasons that all these different events had taken place and the way things shook out. The cities didn't want them. The people didn't want them. And so, yeah, honestly, it sounds like this is best for the Coyotes. But the Coyotes, as we know it, are dead. They're going to rebrand. They're not going to be the Coyotes anymore. Alex Morello will still have the rights to that for the next 5 years. I'm not confident that they're going to ever resurrect this franchise in the Valley. And maybe one day, maybe 20 years from now, there's someone who will come out, some billionaire from the Valley that's really passionate about it, and they'll bring the Coyotes back. But I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, and that sucks, because I think I'm a sucker for nostalgia and the fact that I love the Kachina jerseys, the maroon, the teal, the colors, the white, always really resonated with me, and it's an iconic Valley thing, but everything comes to an end eventually, and I agree, Mike. I think this is for the best.
And stop asking Matt Ishbia to buy this team. He has enough to deal with this Phoenix Suns franchise, especially after this fucking past week. He's got enough to deal with. It's time to move on.
Well, we'll get to the Suns. We got plenty to talk about the Suns. Tallman, is there anything else you want to say about the Arizona Coyotes?
Yeah, I mean it's a sad day. Obviously, whenever you lose one of the 4 major sports in your hometown, it's a sad day, regardless of if we are fans or not. I mean, obviously we're fans at heart, but are we active fans? No, we're not. So it's
no.
I mean,
no,
come on, I'm not going to lie to anybody.
Dude, I'm
not going to lie to anybody.
The only time we ever talked about this team was about arenas and them trying to relocate.
Yes.
That was literally the only time we ever talked about
now
this
it's
team.
over.
If that doesn't, but if that doesn't speak volumes to this franchise, then I don't know what does.
We probably talked about golf more than we talked about hockey.
We talked about John Rahm overall.
You are
Charlie Woods,
and how he had 10 people on his staff in a private jet. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Sorry to cut you off.
No,
You're
Tallman,
good. Finish your thoughts.
You're good. So I mean, it's it's a sad day, and you all you can do is blame ourselves and blame the politicians, man. Blame the ownership. I mean, it wasn't meant to be. So it wasn't meant to be, and I'm with you though. This whole he's got 5 years. There's not going to be hockey here in 5 years. Do you think he's going to collect $1 billion check and go, you know what? I'm going to buy some really overpriced land.
Do you know how much
and build a super expensive arena and entertainment district just so I can get it? And you think he's going to get that team for free? Oh, hey, you spent $1 billion developing an arena. Here's a free expansion team.
Well, no,
and
they said they're going to have to pay him back the $1 billion.
And like, get the $1 billion back.
So but he's not going to be able to afford that. He's not going to do it, is what I'm saying.
Well, so do you know how much he bought the team for originally?
I don't remember.
It was, if I'm remembering correctly, the numbers I saw, it was like $495 million.
All right, so he's gonna collect his check
Double
and he's
his
gonna
investment.
sail off into the sunset, dude. I fucking would be gone.
But
I'd be like, I'm done with this shit.
But I don't
really
know.
am.
Like, I really just wonder though. Like, people who are like 100 millionaires and billionaires, like,
that's over.
how much of
100%? Over 100%
but
return on investment.
what is the lifestyle difference between someone who has $1 billion versus $10 billion?
Not much.
Like, there's only so much you can do. I mean, I don't know. That's another conversation. For
Yeah.
another
All right.
day.
So final thought. The only thing I feel bad for the people that work, on the team. No one's under contract. No one knows what's going to happen. I mean, after the season ends next week, the new ownership, the guy that owns the Jazz, said, hey, once the season's over, everyone come on out to Salt Lake, come check out, walk our facilities, see what it looks like. So hopefully, I don't remember the guy that owns the Jazz, some younger guy.
No idea.
Who knows?
Ryan Smith, right?
Ryan,
Or that's who they're selling it to.
That's the most generic name you could have possibly thrown out.
Is he related to Joseph Smith?
Well, I mean, we're talking about Utah.
This contract's gonna be written on some tablets.
Jesus Christ.
Some stone tablets.
Gold tablets.
I hope were they gold?
I think they were gold.
I
And they were in a
hope he
hat.
does right. I hope he takes care of the big players in this organization and takes them over. And then I would just want to speculate on what that team's going to be called.
Yeah, and I think
so goofy.
I wonder how they're going to do it. But I mean, that maybe we can talk about that when it comes time. Just to.
I'm sorry.
Tallman had a
Ice cream.
Mexican food last night.
My bad.
and
Oh,
so-
jeez. Yeah.
a little squeak.
He's got a little squeak going.
I'm a little loose.
But no, like so let's move on. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Diamondbacks. They're off to a 6-8 start. Right now, I said we're watching this. They're up 4-1 on the Cardinals going into the 8th inning. So looking good. But man, that bullpen. Who, if not them, Tallman, who owns the major responsibility for why we're off to such a slow start?
Well, if it's not the bullpen, the bullpen's obviously a major player in that. I think it's just the inconsistency on offense, man. We're so lopsided. It's like we can score all the runs in the first and second inning, but then when it comes to the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, we're not scoring anything.
Yeah.
Like I heard, I don't know, I have the stats in front of me, but like we're top 3 in the league when it comes to scoring at the beginning of a game in the first and second inning, and then when it comes to scoring in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, we're like bottom 5. So we jump out to all these big starts, which is great. I mean, think about how this team is preparing for these starting pitchers, right? We're jumping on these guys, man. We're scoring 1, 2, 3 runs almost every first inning, which is incredible, But then after the first, second, or third inning, it's like we just disappear. So I don't know what the answer is for that, and it's like we can't hit other teams' bullpens. I don't. It's a struggle. It's extremely inconsistent.
I get that. Like you're not wrong in saying that the lineup needs to hit better to continue to pile on runs. But when we have a 5-6 run lead, and then the bullpen comes in and gives up 8 runs.
See, that's why I said they were a major player.
So you're saying so
Saving face.
So Mike, what Tallman is basically saying is that because of and I guess correct me if I'm wrong here, but because the bullpen isn't as strong as we need it to be right now, we need the offense to outpace them and carry this team forward. So I struggle to say that it's the bats' fault when they're mostly doing their job on the front half, but maybe you're saying they're not playing a full game. I mean, for your money, Mike, would you still place more of the burden on the bullpen and the pitching staff? Because it's not even just the bullpen; it's our starting pitching that's been getting knocked around too.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning more towards the pitching right now. I mean, we're talking about 3 of our relievers over 5 ERA. Luis Frias 5.68, Scott McGowl 8.10,
Terrible.
Miguel Castro 5.79, and then Ryan Nelson isn't holding up his end of the bargain either.
Terrible.
8.22. But I think one of the other biggest situations, guys, I'm getting flashbacks to the Phoenix Suns start of this season as well. People are playing out of position. We're having to rely on guys that aren't slated for where they need to be. Paul Sewald going on the IL for, we don't really know when he's coming back just yet, is putting Kevin Ginkel into a situation where we were hoping that eventually he would be the closer, but he wasn't ready for that, right, to start this season. I mean, Now we're having to trust Blaze Alexander at shortstop because of Geraldo Perdomo having his surgery, right? And he's going to be out for probably 2 months or so. Alec Thomas has been missing a lot of time to start the season as well, and I think he's just finally going to get to base running next week. So these guys are continuing to play more than they probably thought they were, right? Where at the beginning of the season we were banking on the depth that we had.
Yeah.
But now it's starting to show early where it's like, well, you were hoping for that depth on one-off days, right? When the guys needed a rest, okay, then we could have, you know, Blaze Alexander fill in right over here, right? Like, but guys have been forced into the fire, and we're just kind of going through the motions of an early season right now. And Corbin Carroll is just not the same as last season. He started off slow, but the beautiful thing is it is early. But you guys know how I hate to talk about that. Like, I hate giving grace periods, man. This is just what we get, man, from Arizona sports teams. It seems like all the time.
Michael.
Like, but
Don't
I'm saying
worry.
the expectations are so beautiful to start a season, and then we find out some way to put ourselves behind. Like, that just is the nature of us, I guess.
Well, no, we started great, dude. Remember after that, the opening series of the season?
Oh, against the Colorado Rockies? Oh,
we were
my bad.
flying high, man. Gurriel
But that was
on fire.
But that was an expectation, wasn't it?
Well,
Your expectation
yeah,
was to win at
yeah.
least 3 out of 4 against the Colorado Rockies.
Exactly.
And then
We
you
should've
go out and
swept them,
blow
if we're
games
being
against
honest.
Yeah,
and you
we-
blow games against Atlanta and eventually get swept. Where
We
you should have won that series
We should have won
too.
that series. We should have won 2 out of 3 in Atlanta. We should have. That was an absolute disaster. And it was the one I was texting you guys about, the Blaze Alexander, where he's running out into the shallow outfield and he doesn't let Gurriel take the fly ball, and then boom, it's just an absolute disaster, and they score a run to take the lead. It's just ridiculous, man. I mean, they're just throwing games away. And then those were the first one was one where they jumped on Spencer Strider. Granted, the guy ended up having a UCL thing, and he's out for the rest of the season, so he was dealing with
That's rough.
something.
Yeah.
But we jumped all over their ace pitcher, right? And then we did the same thing in the second game. We built this big lead, and then we just pissed it away.
Yeah.
And the Braves have been struggling, man. Their record would not be that good if they didn't fucking win 3 games against the DBacks. Like I'm telling you, they're like 8-5 right now. I think they lost today. So, I mean, if we would have won 2 of those, we're talking about a Braves team that's 500.
Well, right, and we're playing, our 15th game of 182, so we don't necessarily need to sound the alarm. And, Mike, you're right. We can give them grace in the early season, but I just worry because what did we do with the Phoenix Suns? We gave them grace, and we said, hey, it's a super team just getting off the ground. They got to get used to playing together. Oh, Bradley Beal's out. And then it was excuse, and then, there's 2 games left in the season.
Now we're gonna start Royce O'Neal. Yeah, like it's. Yeah.
Hey, I thought that was a great idea.
I mean, you got to work with what you got at a certain point, and we'll get into the Suns. But while we're still talking about the Diamondbacks, I mean, it is just dangerous. We've seen it again. I mean, not to continue to tie in other Valley sports teams, but when there's an expectation for a team in the Valley, like very strong comparisons to the Phoenix Suns, like everyone going into this Diamondbacks season was saying, on paper, this team is better than they were last season, and look what they did last season. They went to the World Series. So obviously, the expectations are at minimum make it to the playoffs. Now, I'm glad expectations were tempered a little bit, obviously, seeing what the Dodgers did in the offseason and everything they acquired, and they're not even paying for any of those players for another 5-10 years. That's another conversation, but the expectation for the Diamondbacks was, we don't expect you to win the NL West. We know that the Dodgers are going to be a powerhouse. They're a really good regular season team, and as long as we can get to the postseason, we have a chance. It's a 3-game series now. It's not just a one and done for the wild card.
Oh, the wild card?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Wild card is a 3-game series.
Yeah, you got
and
me.
so you have it. Get there, and you have a chance if you put it all together. And with all the pieces we put together, now again, 15th game. Looks like we're going to be 7-8 as long as they don't fuck it up in the next inning and a half or so. And that's fine. We're sneaking closer to 500. I think we're still 3rd in the division. We're going to be in the conversation. But it is, I think, a little bit worrisome to see the pitching struggle. Now, again, we do have some guys that are injured, banged up, and two of those guys, well, at least one of those guys is a starting pitcher, Eduardo Rodriguez. It sounds like his rehab's been pushed back a little bit. They were having him throw, still experiencing some tightness, so he's gonna halt that for a moment. But then Jordan Montgomery, he's not injured, but he was a late signing, didn't go through any of spring training, but it sounds like he's gonna make a start coming up this week. And if he's what he promised to be, then that will help us out a lot. And I think that health is obviously a big factor. We talk about that with the Suns as well. We talk about that with any sports team. At the same time, though, like guys like Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, they need to continue to be those foundational pieces that are consistent night in and night out. And when you have your reigning NL Rookie of the Year, I wouldn't, maybe not struggling isn't fair, but not living up to, again, expectations.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's pretty much that. I mean, I would love for one of you guys to take
absolutely.
the floor here.
So let's talk about the Corbin Carroll thing. Yeah, he was out to a slow start, right? He's starting to turn it on. All right, he got his first career leadoff home run the other day.
Whoop, whoop.
The guy
really, that was his first career
leadoff home run. Yeah, so
and his first of the season.
As well. So that was good to see because you're always like, okay, when is Carroll going to get that first home run? Because he went a while without getting it, and then also you're like, how is this dude not making better contact? He didn't have a single like solid hit ball until like the 7th or 8th game of the season. And then everything was he reached on an infield single, or it was just a blooper to the outfield, and then it was a single. So he was making some great contact recently. The guy's been hitting the ball hard, and then he got his first home run. So, and he's been starting to tack on some of the hits. So I'm not worried about Carroll. I think he's kind of getting those early season jitters out, right? I'm worried about Walker. Honestly, this guy is a strikeout machine, man.
Yeah, 19 so far.
He's boomer bust.
And I watched a couple games, and he's just swinging. He's still going for those high fastballs, man. It's like every pitcher has a scouting report on him where it's throw it high in the zone, throw it fast, high in the zone, the guy's going to swing at it, and he's still biting at that. And we really need that guy. But, I'm not – I think we're doing fine. Because help is on the way. And you mentioned it, this team is better than it was last season. I mean, Gino Suarez, I was telling you last night, he's my pick for a recap player. No, I told you. Actually, that was
you were talking about spoiler alerts.
Sorry, my bad. Dude, he's my MVP of the first 2 weeks of the season, man. He's been a great addition to this team. We're down Thomas, who is a solid piece defensively. Losing Perdomo, man, just seeing the struggles that Alexander's had at shortstop. We've been taking Geraldo Perdomo for granted at shortstop, right? Because you're like, oh, well, he's our shortstop. No one ever talks about him. He bats in the 9th spot. But that's the thing with defense. Like, you just expect it. You expect it to happen. And you don't talk about someone defensively unless they make some flashy diving catch or if they get an error, right?
Yeah.
So Perdomo is just the rock. He's solid. He's our rock in the middle of the infield. And the guy is just, his on-base percentage is crazy in the 9th spot. So it's sad to lose him, but I'm not worried about Carroll. I'm not worried about this team right now. And then we're sitting there, help is on the way, right? What I mean by help is on the way, we don't have Seawald. Our bullpen is not fully set in its normal structure yet.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You got Ginkel trying to close, and God, he's been getting hit hard. Yep. You got Thompson going in early. We've seen a lot more of Frias and Castro than we need to, and McGuff, and what
is it? McGuff?
Magoo?
It's
McGuff?
It's McGuff.
McGuff, yeah. That looks like McGuff.
I'm always going to call him McGow. I don't care.
Yeah, we went like a whole 2-hour stream calling him McGow. They're just liabilities, man. And it's I wonder when we're gonna wake up, this team's gonna wake up and be like, hey, these guys aren't the guys. But we're getting good stuff out of Ginkel and Thompson, but they're just pitching out of spot right now. We need Seawald back. We need Rodriguez to get in here. That is big news that he got pushed back.
Yeah,
because he was fired up coming into the season, and he made it. He was talking to reporters. He's like, I'm not missing that much time at all. He's like, he really talked down the whole injury thing. So that's kind of concerning to hear that he got pushed back because he was real high on when he was going to start and the little amount of time that he was going to miss. And then we need Montgomery, dude. If we get that rotation set, that starting five, because man, Nelson's getting hit hard. Henry's hanging in there, man. He's putting us in positions to win games, which is what you expect of your starter, and we have won a couple of those games. But I mean, even our top two guys are getting roughed up a little bit. Fott got beat up last night.
He did.
So it's like, we need our help to show up, our reinforcements, and then we need to get into what this team was supposed to be set like when the season started.
Yeah, basically we just have to be able to see this team as it was, what we expected. Obviously, that's a coulda, shoulda, woulda. But Mike, I want you to talk on that, obviously, but also with the Eduardo Rodriguez news, how much of that do you think is him versus the team just wanting to play it safe?
Probably playing it safe. I mean, it's a big investment in a guy who could possibly be your number two.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, he's under contract for a couple of years. You want to make sure he's as healthy as can be. And obviously, when you have these injuries this early in the season, you don't want to be pushing guys back and having situations like a Spencer over in Atlanta where you're down for the entire season. Guys, we're going to be fine. Yes, everything is totally going to be fine. Corbin Carroll's going to figure it out. He does only have, 3 extra base hits, 2 doubles, that home run finally, only 2 RBIs.
Anybody know how many steals he has?
4 steals.
4 steals, okay.
I mean, it's tough when you're in the 2 holes. You got to be trusting your guys at the back end to get on base, to get those RBIs, and we don't have Perdomo. So this is my biggest frustration is just we're doing the whole thing where it's like, man, look at the growth that these guys made in a playoffs last year, making it to a World Series. You have all these pieces and you make additions. And then now the injury bug kills you so early that you lose all kind of momentum that you would have been excited about because you have to play these guys out of position. So you don't know what team is really around or where people really need to fit because you're putting a square peg into a round hole. Like it's the same shit as the Suns, guys. Like
the parallels are uncanny.
I'm so frustrated on that front. I'm not worried in one bit. I'm just upset. Like how come we can't go into a season and just be like, man, look at
kicking ass.
Look at this awesome roster names that we put together and we're ready to take the next step. And not only is it insult to injury when you lose a guy like Geraldo Perdomo, but you don't even have the next guy who's supposed to be another face of your franchise and Jordan Lawler ready to go because he's hurt.
And
It just like when it rains, it pours. And I'm so sick of it, man. Like, how come we just can't have a stretch where we get to watch the best guys put together as a team play together? Like, we haven't seen it since the NBA Finals run from the Phoenix Suns. Because I'm not even counting last year with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Like, we didn't know that kind of stuff was going to happen.
They weren't
supposed
to put
it together.
Yeah, they weren't supposed to do that. I get
but
what
the
you're
Phoenix
saying.
Suns, okay, not the season after the Phoenix Suns went to the finals is what I'm saying. When they set the franchise record, you felt like they were going to come back next season because all their pieces came back. They had more camaraderie together, more minutes together. They knew how guys like to play. That was what I was hoping for from this year, where we were going to come out scorching hot. Guys were going to be ready to go. Alec Thomas was going to take another step.
Yeah.
You'll be able to sprinkle in guys like J.J. McCarthy. Over here with, Blaze Alexander getting the call up. What a great story. But not have to trust him to be your everyday guy right away. Like, that was what I was hoping for from this Diamondbacks team. And unfortunately, it hasn't happened because of the injuries once again. And it's just, I'm not worried. I'm just upset. Like, I'm sad more than anything about it.
Yeah, it sucks. And I think we did talk about this at one point with the Diamondbacks last season when they had a bit of a struggle where there's certain times in the season when you're kind of okay with getting through those injury bugs, and early in the season is a good time. Yeah. Be injured early, don't be injured late. And that's the one thing I think that kind of worked in our favor last season is that we were healthy late. I can't think of a single one of our core starters who was injured at the end of last season. Everyone was ready to go except for who was the pitcher? Tommy Henry went out with the Tommy John surgery, but
he was gone.
But he was already like our fourth pitcher, and he had been gone.
Yeah, he had been gone.
I guess though, to bring it back a little bit, Tallman, and this was something I was thinking about over the past couple of days. When we're talking about our top prospects of the last couple of years, you have Brandon Pfaadt, who's at the MLB level now and pitching in our rotation, struggling to start this season. Jordan Lawler's injured, and of course Drew Jones has been perpetually injured. I can't help but feel like, I know the injuries maybe aren't fair for me to think this, but I can't help but feel like maybe our prospects were a little bit overvalued.
I think so. The Drew Jones thing, dude. I mean, we've said it so many times. Trade that guy.
It's the first thing I do when I make
already?
a franchise in the show.
So do I. I mean,
really, the first thing?
First thing I do, I trade him for an MLB ready prospect.
I mean, he plays outfield. How many outfielders do we have? Jake McCarthy is going to take over for whatever veteran we have leave, which is going to be Gurriel. Our outfield's going to be Corbin, Thomas, and McCarthy. It's going to happen.
It's fine with me.
Jake's had a killer start to the season, man. I mean, he's a great ball player. And it's like you don't have space for him here, right? I mean, what happens when Cattell leaves? You know, who's going to play second base?
Baseman,
you know? And then the thing with the shortstop with Lawler, it's like Perdomo is leaps and bounds better than Lawler. I wouldn't trade him at all for Lawler right now. A healthy Perdomo, like the guy. I mean, and Perdomo's young. Like you always think that he's so much older than him. He's only a couple years older than him. He's really young for baseball. Perdomo is. Yeah. So this guy could be our shortstop for the next 6-7 years. You know, and he plays the best 9 spot out of any lineup in the MLB.
Right. If
the guy gets on base.
Yeah,
and that's what you need out of your 9th position hitter.
I want you to keep going, but real quick, just on Perdomo, like he could, if the Diamondbacks give up on him and move on off of him for a Lawler, he could be the next Dansby Swanson, where he was like a young guy that we didn't let fully develop. Where what was it, 3 to 5 years after we got rid of Dansby Swanson is when he really started to flourish, and now he's like a perennial all-star potential type of player.
I mean, contributor to a World Series team.
There you go.
With the Braves.
With the Braves,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that's what he parlayed into the contract that I think he has with the Cubs right now.
Yeah, the Cubs, yeah.
But
well, I will say though, off of what Tallman was saying, that's what also kills me about Lawler being hurt right now, because this would have been a perfect opportunity
to get to know what you have.
Throw him in there.
He did nothing
in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, great.
September call-ups are different than playing early within a season.
Corbin did good as a September call-up.
I mean, shit, at this point.
But then he proved himself right away.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This was his chance to.
Yeah, but even right now, like, so Blaze Alexander, he's a solid prospect, right?
Oh yeah.
The guy can hit the baseball, man, and he's quick and he's athletic.
Yeah.
So he's had some very rookie mistakes, right? Where the baseball gods have just given him some of the worst scenarios, and he has not gone through with them. You know, like with the shallow thing, with the shallow pop out, and he had one he lost it in the sky in Colorado recently, earlier in the week.
Yeah.
It was an infield fly. It was so routine, and he literally lost it, and it dropped right next to him. So he's running into these weird scenarios, but he's going to be a really good player. So at this point, I've seen so much, and this is to your point, what you're saying, like, where you wish that Lawler was healthy so we could see what we have. Maybe
100%.
Maybe he would be showing the same promise that Blaze is showing you, but I mean, the power that Blaze has, I mean, for him to just be someone that we slid in because Perdomo is hurt, I mean, that dude can hit it over the fence.
And then I'm saying, like, I wish Lawler was here, because then you can start to make that decision. Okay, is he the future? Do you have to move off of Perdomo?
Exactly.
Can you start building out those guys behind Ketel Marte, behind Christian Walker? That would have been a perfect time to figure it out right now. And of course, now we can't. You know?
Yeah.
We're stuck waiting again.
It sucks. The waiting game is what sucks the most. But again, 15 games in, a lot of games to go. And so I think over the next month, 2 months, I think that'll be the real barometer for what we have in this team. As we get Montgomery up to speed, we get Eduardo Rodriguez back in the rotation. Unfortunately, though, those guys like Lawler and Perdomo, those are more long-term injuries, it sounds like. Lawler was what, like a thumb or a big toe?
Broke his thumb, I think, right? Yeah, or fractured his thumb.
Yeah, so he... And again, like, where are we at? Like, are we comfortable enough with Blaze Alexander at that point where he's been where we rely on him, and it's like, well, we don't. Lawler's coming off the injury. Let's keep him in AAA. and let's keep rolling with Blaze. I mean, Perdomo, it does sound like, Perdomo's injury timeline is like 2 to 3 months or something like that?
No, it's just 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Damn.
Month
So
and a
it
half
was something.
about.
So if that injury happened to Perdomo, say in August, September, he'd play through it. But it's so
That's
early
crazy.
in the it's so early
That
in
is
the
crazy.
season where it's like, there's no point in you can't play the entire 162 games with a
No.
partially torn meniscus in your knee.
I can't remember.
You got to get the surgery. So he's gonna come back from it. It was who just had it in the NBA? Joel Embiid.
Oh, okay.
Same
and he
thing.
came back
So
same season. Okay.
So Embiid was out for what, 5-6 weeks.
Enough for me to not be able to make the playoffs in fantasy basketball.
3-time champ, baby.
That's rough.
He follows the previous 3-time champ.
Oh,
It was
please.
me.
Who won
Anyway.
before that?
Anyway.
You also got to remember, this is a name that we like to forget on this podcast. Jace Peterson's getting more time at short
I
than
fucking
Alexander.
hate Jace Peterson.
But he's that utility guy.
You can put him at third.
Yeah.
you can put him in
Okay,
outfield,
every
yeah.
baseball team needs a Jace Peterson. Okay, hopefully your Jace Peterson is named somebody
No.
other than Jace Peterson.
I'd rather have
Jace Peterson sucks.
I'd rather have a Daniel Descalso.
Yeah, but he's your Nick Ahmed, right? So Nick Ahmed wasn't flashy at the plate, but he got it done on defense on the field. So that's what Jace Peterson is. He's your utility guy. He fills in wherever he needs to be, and he gives you solid defense. So I'll give him that. But he cannot hit a baseball.
Did Nick Ahmed end up anywhere? Or is
He's
he...
with the Giants. He's actually had a pretty good
he's
start
with
to
the
the season.
Giants. Nice.
Yeah. He's been he's starting. He's their starting shortstop.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good for Nick
Yeah.
Ahmed.
And where are the Giants? 6 and 9 underneath us. So
Perfect.
Wait, is he starting short or is he playing second? I don't remember.
I thought he was starting in the minors to start the season.
No,
but
he's
that's how
on
much
there,
I'm paying attention to the Giants.
Yeah, I'm not paying attention to the Giants at all. I'm just glad that they are also starting out a little slow because they also are another team that had high expectations.
okay.
Like they were supposed to be the fourth good team in the division. I'm pretty sure as people kind of foresaw it was going to be Dodgers, DBacks, Padres. I think a lot of people kind of had those back and forth, and then Giants, and then obviously the Rockies as being the bottom feeders. But obviously, I'm pretty sure the Rockies have stolen 2 games from us so far this season, or just
They
one.
have, yep.
2?
Twice.
2, yeah.
2, yeah, in 2 series, right?
I mean,
Yep.
they almost won that second series against us, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep. So scary times.
not scary time. We're not
No,
scary.
dude, we are doing just fine.
We're going to be fine. It's just,
This is
it's
a talented baseball team.
Dude, it's a slow roll to start a season. It sucks that you're injured this early and that kind of stuff, but like Tallman said, I mean, the guys are coming back, so
Yeah.
it's just I want to see
help is on its way.
I want to
Chris.
see them, man. That's the
I
thing.
know.
Like
I
I,
don't-
want to see them all together.
You're right.
Put
To
it
me,
all
Like the
together.
Durant thing. Oh, when's Durant gonna start?
I don't think we've been swept in a series yet, have we?
No.
Yeah, the Braves.
Oh, the Braves.
Oh
did
shit.
they?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
We
well,
lost.
so
yeah, it was rough.
Second
I just think-
series of the season.
So it's not.
Yeah,
It'll be
it's
scary if we're having this conversation next month and we're 5 games below 500. Yeah. Then we can have a different conversation then, and I look forward to that. But guys, still plenty to get to. I don't even know how long into this podcast, but we're still going to talk about the Phoenix Suns heading into the playoffs and the Arizona Cardinals, what they're going to do in the draft. But while you're here, if you've made it mid-episode, I want to thank you so much for watching, listening back on streaming services. You know that we are going to ask you to like and subscribe if you're watching here on YouTube, Valley Sports Plug on YouTube and Facebook, at AZ_VSP on Instagram, TikTok, X.com, and Threads. So make sure you're following us so you can stay up to date with all the Valley sports action. But guys, let's keep it pushing. Let's get into the next topic here. We're going to talk about the Phoenix Suns and what they've been doing and not doing. They're heading to the playoffs. They're going to be in the playoffs. Now it's a matter of, will it be through the play-in tournament, or are they going to secure the 6th seed? What they have to do is beat the Minnesota Timberwolves on Sunday, and then we need the Pelicans to lose to the Lakers also on Sunday. So we see a lot of these scenarios in the NFL late in the season. You're obviously implications for teams that have already secured their playoff berth to bench players. We saw that with the Clippers when they benched literally all their starters. Now, some of them were injured. It was like Kawhi, James Harden, Paul George, who's their big guys? Zubac. Yeah, they benched everybody, and they still almost beat us.
Norman Powell, Terrence Mann played 8 minutes.
Yeah, Bones Highland scored 37 on us.
Yikes.
Absolutely bonkers. But anyway, so you're telling me there's a chance, guys. But before we get into all that, Mike was able to secure another pair of the book ones. This is the Haven Colorway, not Color Wave.
Yeah.
Colorway.
As we determined on Pass the Outlet earlier this week.
You can fit in that.
Bigfoot shoes.
Oh, you can fit in those. These are nice, though, but
You
they're named
big
after,
motherfucker.
Mike, correct me if I'm wrong here, it's Devin Booker's dog, Haven.
That's correct.
Is his name. And so they got the faux fur here on this part and also on the tongue and a little bit in the middle. There's suede on the front, obviously gray rubber sole, and some fancy, what would you call it? It's like a glossy Nike swoosh logo. It's almost like black, but then has a little bit of brown. Like it almost looks like when you pour the creamer into the coffee.
Yeah,
how
there
it
you
kind of
go.
starts on the top.
A little half and half.
It's pretty clean. It's pretty clean, and this kind of continues on with the legacy and what Devin Booker was hoping to do, where it's like, yeah, it's a basketball shoe, but it's also a shoe that you could slap on with any outfit, especially a black shoe. And I know that's what you were really. I want you to talk about this shoe a little bit too, Mike. But I know that's what you were really looking forward to. This colorway,
You're gonna need it.
In particular, was just the way it presents itself.
This colorway. It tickled my fancy for sure. Yeah, I finally threw on the Oralwood brown ones from the first ones that we got. Pretty comfortable. This sock liner is like it takes some break in really, but I got these to play in, so I'm really excited to see how these perform on court.
Folks, you still got this in it.
Yeah, they haven't been worn yet.
Still got the paper.
Yeah, you got to keep it shaped. Got to
keep that toe formed.
But I mean, fellas, you know me, and you should know at this point. I talked about how this is a big moment for not only Devin Booker but us Suns fans, because when was the last time that we had a signature athlete get their own shoe that is really our own? Kevin Durant has had his line for 17. Number 17's coming out next year. So I'm pulling a Pokemon. I'm trying to collect them all. But, I tried to help Chris out today, folks. I hit him with the restock on Foot Locker, and it went kaput on him, unfortunately. But we're going to get you some, man. I promise.
We will. We will. I'll get my hands on some book ones eventually. And yeah, what I noticed though right away in looking at these, and like they're sturdy. They look sturdy. We've talked about it before, Mike. I know you and I normally don't go for the lows when it comes to basketball shoes, just because as a big guy, I know you like the ankle support for sure. Even though I'm significantly shorter, about 6 foot, I still also, with my ankle history, prefer to have a high top to give me a little bit of support. But not to get too much in the weeds with it, but I have heard reports in the last year or so where they basically say that high tops, low tops, mids, it doesn't make any difference. Your ankles are equally as susceptible no matter what you wear. What? Yeah. So it kind of dispels that rumor. I mean, you can wear guys a lot of the times, especially wearing low tops, they'll wear ankle braces. I know.
Yeah, I do. I wear one on my left ankle.
It's smart,
so.
yeah. You get a little extra support there. But we're not here to talk about ankle support and what we do when we're playing basketball.
Are you sure? You want to turn it into
We're gonna
we
have
do that enough on Pass the Outlet.
Yeah, no. We'll do our own sneaker podcast.
All right, let us see your ankle, Mike.
Yeah,
I don't think I can pull it up that far, man. Too much basketball and softball at this point.
Yeah, we're no spring chickens out here at Valley Sports.
No, we're not.
But guys, the Suns though, they are playing better at times, but then worse at others. It's been a rocky road for them, and that's despite the off-court fan news that we don't need to get into. But with the product on the court, man, we saw them get absolutely walloped by the Clippers. They did fight back towards the end, but too little, too late, and then win a game that shouldn't have even been close at all, but somehow they ended up running away with in the end. And then a good outing, more or less, against Sacramento, where it was a lot more competitive, and then at the end, when all hopes looked lost last night, they were able to get it done. And Tallman, you and I were watching the end of that game. Bradley Beal was fired up.
Oh yeah. Woo. Yeah, he's got the dog in him, dude. And honestly, throughout the season, we got so used to that Bradley Beal stat line. Mike, what was the Bradley Beal stat line?
9 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, somewhere around there.
That was the Bradley Beal stat line, and that started all the talk. This isn't a big three. Bradley Beal's not a portion of that big three. They can't be called that because Bradley Beal wasn't playing up. You know what? Bradley Beal, the last couple games, dude's been on fire. He's been shooting. He's been hitting from three. the guy's been scoring, and he's been getting like 6, 7, 8 assists. The guy's been facilitating as well.
During that time, though, he would sprinkle in his 20, 30-point games.
No, he did.
Yeah, but for the most part, it was he had the ball in his hands, and he go, I'm going to give it to Durant or Booker.
Well, he was very clearly the third option most nights.
So,
right?
and then,
that's fair.
it's like we don't ever need Royce O'Neal or Grayson Allen taking more shots than Bradley Beal in a game. Not that can't happen. Bradley Beal is the better proven scorer than both of those guys. And you might disagree with me.
No, I don't.
No,
not necessarily.
He can't go a game only shooting the ball 6, 7, 8 times, and then so he's been changing that the last couple of games. But I loved he was fired. What I say to you, we were at Mikhail's. We were having a very nice dinner. So after the game, and when what Chris is mentioning, where Beal was fired up, like I saw him flex probably like 27 times.
Oh yeah,
and then he was getting chest bumped, he was screaming, he was going nuts
electric.
for like a solid 3 minutes after the game was over. And then I said to Chris, I said, what if he turns it on? What if all three of these guys turn it on at the same time?
Well, and that's what me and Mike talked about on Pass the Outlet a little bit too. Like in that same vein is like, what if their whole mentality has been like, we don't really care too much about the regular season, and we're gonna give it 60, 75% effort in hopes that we're all healthy and ready to go and comfortable, to where when playoff time hits, we just turn it on. Now, I think you and I both kind of hated that. The idea of that, Mike, and being like, why are you half-assing it just to turn it on? And like, I guess I would rather have that though than this be the reality of the Suns team, whereas they're just kind of a mediocre, above-average team. I think those two things kind of contradict each other. That might be an oxymoron, but you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, but yeah, it's so tough to go with the notion that you really can think that you can turn it on whenever you want, because it's just not the case, especially in the playoffs. It's an absolutely different animal, man.
Yes,
like
rotations
are shortened, guys' intensity level kicks in
100%,
and
over 40 minutes a game.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, of all people who probably cannot just like hit the switch and turn it on when he wants, it's Kevin Durant at 36 years old now. Has he turned 36 yet?
I think so.
He's still
35. But I mean, let's be honest. He's been one of the guys who's been the most consistent this entire season. So he's been really kind of rolling through the motions how he's supposed to. And unfortunately,
he's still 35.
We've seen Beal and Booker be a little bit more injured, so that's why there's been more ebbs and flows with those guys. But I just hate that mentality of thinking that you can kick it on in the playoffs, man. Like it's a scary, scary situation. Now, if there's a team who could do it, and the three guys who could do it,
it's the Suns.
It's those guys.
Yep.
But it kills me, and it's put us in this tumultuous state this entire season, wondering what the hell this team is about. And it's still too much of an ebb and flows, but that Sacramento Kings game, the intensity that they came out with, at least in the fourth quarter, because those first 3 quarters were tough, guys. They were tough. But that fourth quarter, to make that stop against De'Aaron Fox. I was thinking I had DeAndre Ayton on my line. My bad.
Yeah, the steal.
But that steal and those emotions flowing out, and he was talking in the press game, it's go time. He really said it, and that's a great thing to see.
Yeah, I think honestly, if anyone has the most to prove it, it really is Bradley Beal. I mean, he came off of a tumultuous last couple seasons when he was with the Washington Wizards, where in the post-John Wall era for him, he was leaned on to be that primary guy that made them a competitive team, and they really just never built around him to be able to give him that opportunity to do it. And so now to not have that pressure on him to come here and play third string, essentially, behind Booker and Durant, it gave him a spot where the expectations were, although we like basketball fans and locked in fans had expectations for Bradley Beal. I'm not saying nobody, and even casual fans, I'm not saying people didn't have expectations for Bradley Beal, but for him to be able to come in here and like, you can't deny there was less pressure on him than there was Booker and Durant, where you're right, Tallman, he can be that guy that you rely on to score more than Grayson Allen. Now, what I do rely on Grayson Allen for is to be able to knock down those spot-up shots where he's wide open, and he was doing that for 80% of this season, and really impressive. But what has been the constant for this Suns team, whether it's Ish Wainwright or Josh Okogie or any of these other guys that we've had roll through here, Jay Crowder, is they can be great at times, but then when we need them the most, they disappear like the fucking Avatar, man. Like, I hate to think that that's going to be the case for Grayson Allen, and there's time he could easily turn it around, but that's another guy, like, you can't say that Grayson Allen isn't a key to this team. Now, he isn't, of course, as important as Brad Beal is, I think, but my point is that you do still need to rely on him to knock down those corner shots.
You do, but what if he doesn't knock him down? The guy went...
and he's not
recently,
right now.
he went 16... He missed 16 three-pointers in a row.
But don't forget, he is also a guy that set franchise records this season.
I get it. Yeah, he
Over
led
200 threes made this year,
he led the league in 3-point percentage, but he doesn't anymore. You know, and that's
exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, no,
16
exactly.
will do that.
And then I'm telling you, the whole fucking that terrible game against the Clippers when we were down 35-4 in the first quarter. We were down 53 to like 16 at one point, right? And then they made that heroic effort in the second half to get within. I mean, at one point that game was within eight points, right? And then I couldn't tell you when I was watching that. I couldn't tell you that. Well, I probably could tell you. It was probably 2 or 3 times where Allen had an open look, and he didn't make it. And if he made those 2 3-pointers that he had an open look on, Suns probably won that game.
Right. Well, and we're seeing like guys that haven't been what we expected, like Eric Gordon. He's starting to knock down some bigger shots. But Mike, what do they always say in basketball about the 3-point shot? That a team, when they rely on it, you live by it, and you die by it. And it seems like more often than not right now, the Suns are dying by the 3.
Right now, unfortunately, guys are going through a little bit of a cold streak, but this is the NBA of today, fellas. Like, if you're not putting up 43 pointers per game, you're behind the 8 ball. Like, that's just what the truth of the matter is. And this team, honestly, like, they can live by it because you have, throughout pretty much the entirety of this season, 2 of the top 5 3-point field goal percentage players in Grayson Allen and Kevin Durant. Devin Booker's no slouch. He finally got that monkey off the back, getting 7 threes in a game, right? We've seen
he was awful.
We've seen Bradley Beal. We've seen Bradley Beal hit from outside as well, even though I don't want him to be relying on that. I want him to be the change of pace guy, right? Attacking, getting to the basket, playing with that bigger size frame, even for a shorter guy. Like, we need that kind of change of pace guys to be able to kick outside and get our shots for Kevin Durant, for Devin Booker, for Grayson Allen, Eric Gordon, Royce O'Neal, all these kind of guys and that kind of stuff. But I think the biggest thing, just coming back down to where we're at right now, fellas, with 1 game left, is I'm disappointed that this team fucked around for the last 2 months of the season and didn't take some very winnable games seriously. And it's put us in the predicament right now where if we don't win on Sunday against Minnesota, and if New Orleans doesn't lose, that's the only way that we get an automatic basically bye, because the play-in tournament grants you 4 days off, right? 5 days off, something like that. And then we're possibly going to have to play the Los Angeles Lakers, who we've lost to, 3 times this year? And it's a tough matchup for this team.
They're looking
good.
And
the Lakers have been playing better this year, towards the end of this half. So they just messed around, and that's why I hate we can turn it on when we want. It was like, well, you put yourself into a situation where it's like now you have a really bad matchup for yourself. And if you lose that game, you're looking at playing another one where you might not even play in the playoffs. Like, how did we find ourselves in this position? Yeah, it's absurd.
Yeah, because unlike the MLB wild card, the NBA play-in tournament is one and done. You have one chance, one opportunity, seize all you ever wanted, spaghetti, spaghetti, spaghetti. And I don't want the Suns to be in that situation where because I don't trust them in a 1-game scenario.
I don't either.
I don't.
And nobody should right now.
No.
Like, great win against Sacramento, but the past month has just been absolutely nothing when it comes down to consistency. You shouldn't trust anything that this team does on any given night.
No. So I think what it comes down to is we have to beat the Timberwolves. We have to cross our fingers and pray to whatever God you believe in that the Pelicans lose to the Lakers. And it's possible Lakers are jockeying for position and who they want to play in the play-in tournament. They've already secured their spot. Like, the playoff teams are decided already. It's just where they're going to sit. The Suns just really need that 6th seed. And there's going to be plenty to talk about the Suns. I know we're going to get off this topic. I want to talk about the Cardinals too. But Mike, I got to pass it to you back one more time because there's a topic that's been floated around recently that I've been thinking about. And it's, what do the Suns do with Frank Vogel? He has been taking on a lot of the blame, and I don't think it's unwarranted. It doesn't seem like he really has control of this team, and we can talk about the leadership and missing Chris Paul and the leadership he brought. We talked about on Pass the Outlet, who's the real leader? Is Booker or Durant even a leader? And I think we both agreed that neither of them are stepping up and fulfilling that role like they genuinely and truly need to be for a variety of reasons. Go back, YouTube, Valley Sports Plug on streaming services. Listen to that podcast. We talked about it. But with the Frank Vogel question, it's like Monty Williams had buy-in from the players, and they went to battle for him. These guys don't appear to be going to battle for Frank Vogel. So I know you signed him to a multi-year deal, but with the willingness of Ishbia to spend money, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I guess long-winded way of asking you, do the Suns look to move off of Frank Vogel after this season?
I think it only depends on who you're looking to move off to. Like, I'm not willing to fire Frank Vogel to bring in Kevin Young. He's been on the staff the entire season, and his offense has been absolutely horrid.
He owns just as much responsibility.
So, like, you can't make that kind of switch. Now, if you're talking about bringing in somebody who, like, you really wanted last year, like a Tyronn Lue, like, that's maybe this scenario. But, guys, I've also talked about this plenty of times. What are the teams that end up actually winning championships? Teams that have played together for a number of years. Teams that have built cohesion. And that's not just from the players playing together. That comes from a front office and a coaching staff that has been there to work for multiple seasons with these guys to start really figuring out where you need to put people. Once again, we're talking about a season where Bradley Beal plays, what, 50-something games? Missed the whole shitload of time?
Yeah.
The entire first front half of this season, we didn't have our big three, it seemed like, for more than, what, 4 games? We didn't start to figure out where people were supposed to be until basically after the All-Star break. And it's been tough since after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some of that blame goes on to Frank Vogel. I totally 100% agree with you. But I can't get into a revolving door of things didn't go our way this season, so we have to fire this coach because he's just not the right fit. Like, you got to at least stick through, I don't know, at least the first half of next season. And if, say, the Suns are 15-20, then maybe you make a change at that point next year. But if you're going to continue to mess around and just absolutely build no chemistry with these guys, bring in a whole 8 new players next season, we're going to find ourselves having the same fucking conversations next year because nobody knows how to play together because they haven't had any fucking time together. So that's where I stand. I don't fire Frank Vogel, but that's from my standpoint.
Obviously, like, it's not like we missed the playoffs. We're going to be in the playoffs now.
Right. Isn't this like we're almost jumping off a ledge for a team that's going to win 49 games possibly. Like, yeah, I'll take that at the end of the day, but with high expectations comes all that kind of stuff. And it's granted at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't have Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, who are arguably 2 of the top 20 players. And that's being generous, 2 of the top 20 players in the league right now. Bradley Beal might still even be in that conversation, top 20, top 30 at minimum. Bradley Beal is no slouch. Like, he is an all-star. He's a proven player. So the expectations are just so high, man. And, like, that can't be overstated that we just expected so much more from this team. And, yeah, it sucks that Beal was beat up and he couldn't play. But I think a good amount of the blame does kind of fall on the coach at the end of the day, is how you rally the troops, how you hold people accountable. And if there's not going to be a player like Booker or Durant that steps up to be that leader, it has to be the coach. Someone's got to lead this team, guys. Like, and it seems like it's just been a ship with no guidance at all. And I do want to get off this topic, but I want to give you the floor, Tallman. We've kind of left you in the dark here. Is there anything else you have on your mind about the Phoenix Suns?
No, you absolutely nailed it. And I mean, what I've been hearing is if this team goes to the play-in tournament and they lose, Vogel's going to be the whipping boy.
He'll be the fall guy, the scapegoat, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, he's out of here. And then if that happens, then I mean, you got to worry about, how the players are feeling too. Like how much longer is Booker going to deal with it? And I'm not saying he's ever going to leave or Durant's going to say, I want to go win another championship, pull another Golden State Warriors move.
I would just say
you got to worry about how, what's going on,
Well, I would just say
inside the locker room.
That
too.
might even be a little bit I get what you're saying, but at the same time, it sounds like with Ishbia taking over and the moves they made, getting Vogel, Booker and Durant were the main two guys that they were asking about when it came to coaching hires and roster formation. And
but didn't Booker want the Kevin Young guy?
Oh, I don't.
Well, he's there, isn't he?
Well, yeah, he's still on the
there.
staff, but he wanted him to be head coach. But
I'm
sure that's
not wrong. You're not
yeah.
wrong, but fair enough. But at the end of the day, I don't think Booker can blame anyone more than he can blame himself right now.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. But at the same time, though, it's like Vogel came in here as a defensive coach, right? Defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah.
How'd this team play defense all year?
Not great.
Awfully, right?
Well, not great to start, but then they were in top 10 in efficiency for the second half of the season.
The last couple weeks,
statistically,
maybe.
if you break down all the stats, I've heard people talk
but
about
we
this,
weren't scoring either, though.
We've been top in certain categories and bottom in others, and it's and where our record is, it's in some stats on paper we should be the best team in the league, but then in other different categories we're at the bottom. So it's this team is so all over the place. And Mike and I, we talked about the turnover problem, and it's sometimes it on the stat sheet when you're looking at the team stats, it doesn't look that bad, but when you're watching the game, you're Booker just basically handed it off that to that guy like he was fucking Emmitt Smith.
Russell Westbrook is literally right next to him, in front of him on his hip, and he just passes it right to him like it's crazy. Well, that's been the bipolar nature of this team the entire season too, fellas. The game that we got absolutely blasted by the Clippers, we only had 8 turnovers.
Yeah.
And then we come back and beat the Sacramento Kings, and we have 23 turnovers last night. You just don't know what you're going to get ever. And that's why, in the grand scheme of things, for where we stand right now when the playoffs start, I'm nervous as hell, man, no matter what. That's why I pray that we can get that 6th seed, so at least we know we have a full-blown series that we can start to game plan for and make adjustments throughout a series, because you can't make adjustments either than in the game when it's win or go home. And unfortunately, the Suns have been on the latter half of that the entire season. You look at their fourth quarter point differential, which is 150 points worse than the next team.
It's by far the worst.
Wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
They're like the D-backs in the fourth quarter. They can't score at the end of the game.
So that's where it's, dude. If we were able to shore up this 6th seed, I'll be able to freaking pump the brakes, take a chill pill, and really truly evaluate what kind of chance this team has. Because going into any kind of play-in, I can't tell you what their chances are because I don't know.
No, just like we already said, you can't trust this team in a one-game win or go home. You can't.
I don't.
So the 6th seed is so crucial to any even potential of success for this team, because we're gonna lose if we're in a play-in tournament or the play-in game.
Ooh.
I'm telling you, and then if we lose that game, Vogel's gone.
Chris, when are you gonna get this pod out?
I'm telling you.
I'm gonna try and have it out by Tuesday at the latest.
If we lose that play-in game,
Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest.
Well, the first playing game is Tuesday.
Within a week, Vogel's fired.
If they
lose the
play-in.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I honestly I don't doubt that, because this is especially with Matt Ishbia and the contract situation.
It's an expensive team, man. Do you think he's waiting around to figure out? For Frank to figure it out?
You have such a short window with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. We can rely on Booker to still have probably 6 to 8 good seasons left in his career. The way things are progressing.
He's going to finish his career in L.A. We already know that.
Booker's going to finish his career in L.A.?
He's gonna go be Kobe 2.0.
No, because I think if he wants,
just kidding.
No, but just to talk on that, if he wants to be Kobe 2.0, the blueprint for Kobe is to stay at one franchise and be the GOAT and build around you. And whether you have Shaq coming and going or Pau Gasol or Kwame Brown, you work with what you got and you win championships. Yeah. And that's what Devin Booker is all about quietly and what Jason Tatum is about loudly. And I fucking hate Jason Tatum is such a bitch, but we're not here to talk about that.
He's an outstanding player, though.
I didn't know Jason Tatum gets you riled up that much. I did not know this. I love that.
Yeah.
Man, Chris don't like Jason Tatum.
I don't like Jason Tatum. I think he's soft. I think he's a little bitch.
I'm going to show Ant this, man. He might have something to say about this.
Who?
Wow.
Anthony.
Anthony? Okay.
He might have something to say
Ant, get at me. Let's talk.
You think Tatum's soft?
Yeah, I think Tatum's soft.
He's like a top 5 player in the league right now.
I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying he's soft.
He's one of the best in the entire league.
Well, he's great. No, he's the best player
right.
on the Celtics.
So emotionally, he's soft.
You know what we should have?
Yeah.
We should do one pod where we just go through each league and we're like, okay, who are our most hated
Who
players?
do we hate the most?
Dude, that could be a
have
round
a
table.
discussion. But yeah,
all right, Mike, who do you hate the most?
No, we got it. We
also
finish up
not to
here.
derail, but we also got to do another trivia stream.
Yes,
again.
that
was fun.
That was a lot of fun.
That was fun as hell.
I know that was a lot of work, but that was pretty.
It was
good.
a lot of work, but I'm willing to do the work to put.
I was really good at the non-sports questions, so keep more of those.
I love guessing trivia, but I was surprised at how much I enjoyed delivering the trivia questions as well and like moderating that. But you guys can check that back. It's on our Valley Sports Plug YouTube page. We did a trivia stream. Go back and watch it. It was a lot of fun. It was really close. It was back and forth. You might be surprised how it ended. It was lopsided teams. It was 3v2, so if that gives you any indication, check it out. But, fellas, the Suns will be in the playoffs. Where they will land is yet to be seen, and we could talk in circles about whose responsibility it is, what we think is going to happen, but there will be more time for that. For right now, though, I think we should talk about the Arizona Cardinals. They have the 4th pick currently in the upcoming NFL draft, which is 2 weeks from this last Thursday, so a week from this Thursday. Coming up quick, guys. And there was rumors and reports that came out earlier this week that they are shopping that pick, potentially looking to move back. But they reportedly have a pretty steep asking price, I think of 2, maybe 3 first-round picks. 3 first-round picks. I want to get your guys' reaction, but my immediate gut reaction was, I'm fucking pissed. Why are you trying to move off of that 4th pick? Monty, you got to draft someone eventually. You can't just keep trading your draft picks and hoping that something works out. You have to fucking draft a generational talent, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is apparently going to be right there for us to take. Take him. Say you're not going to trade it. I get this might be, as Ron Wolfley calls it, the subterfuge, the draft subterfuge, where they're doing this we have a high asking price. So if some team calls them and they're like, hey, we do want to give you 3 first-round picks, they're like, just kidding. Now we want 4 draft picks. Like, they're just going to keep asking for more. I hope that's the case, and I hope their plan all along is to stay at the 4th pick, and they're just kind of like being like, oh, maybe we're open. But my initial gut reaction was just annoyed. Like, no, draft Marvin Harrison, stay in the 4th spot. What do you guys think?
Yo, I was going to say, your color waves is base and audience, the way that I always thought Ron Whippley
Basedonians versus base and audience.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Derailment a little bit. This team is so far away from being truly successful as an entire unit, Chris. That's why that they're playing this like this. But they're doing the right thing by having a crazy asking point, right? To move up. If you want that 4th pick, I need 3 first-rounders. So, what was it? The Vikings were the main players right now because they want J.J. McCarthy, and they were going to give up, 11, 23, and they were at first it was like maybe a 3rd-rounder in 2025, but now they basically said, no, it's got to be a 1st-rounder next year. If that is floated out, I mean, I don't know. I don't think Monty Ossenford says no to that, guys. Like, he rubs me as that kind of a guy. Like, he wants the draft capital to build this team out because we have so many glaring needs on both sides of the football. It pains me, Chris, I'm right alongside with you, like, not being able to get such a quote-unquote generational talent as a Marvin Harrison Jr. when you have the ability to, because you know that the top 3 picks are all going to be quarterbacks. We just absolutely know this at this point.
Yeah.
It hurts you because what's the biggest legend in Arizona Cardinals football? It's Larry Fitzgerald. And to have somebody who's comparable that you can bring in finally a couple years later that plays the same position that comes from Hall of Fame DNA.
Who the name already has recognition and prestige in the NFL.
It's going to be hard to pass up on that. But I don't think Monty Ossenfort sees it as that. Like, yeah, he's still newer to Arizona, but he's thinking about building this football team in its entirety.
I get what you're saying, and that's the level-headed approach to it all. But from my fan perspective, when the Cardinals were sucking ass, Tallman, what put asses in the seats? Who did people go to State Farm Stadium to see?
Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks, because it was Seattle Seahawks fans at the
no,
stadium.
everybody
they went to see Larry.
Everybody had a Larry Fitzgerald jersey.
Yeah, they went to see
That's
Larry.
probably still one of the top-selling
Larry
Cardinals
Legend.
jerseys.
Yeah, Larry Legend.
Kyler Murray is probably the top-selling jersey now, but I guarantee you they're still selling a good amount of Larry Fitzgerald jerseys for sure, and they will continue to do that. And I think it's a lot to say, oh, Marvin Harrison Jr., you just put him in here, he'll be Larry Fitzgerald. I'm not saying that's the case. Like, legacy players like Drew Jones, they don't always work out. But granted, Marvin Harrison Jr. does have a really good college resume to boot. I know it's not all about ticket sales. You want to be successful, but I also think, like you said, we're a long way away. I don't think we don't have to be that far. Teams turn it around quick all the time.
Yes.
Look at what the Houston Texans are doing. They got CJ Stroud, fucking killing it, so they start building around him. They trade for Stephon Diggs, and now they're putting a team around him where there's a few pieces. Now I get there's 22 guys total, basically, that are starters, 11 on each side, and you need those line pieces. You need a good, solid offensive line for Kyler Murray to operate behind. You need a good defensive line that can get to the quarterback and get the ball back for the offense to be successful. But I don't think you can miss out on drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. when we have seen so many first-round picks fizzle out. Just because you're a first, second-round pick doesn't mean you're guaranteed to be a good NFL player. And unfortunately, and maybe not unfortunately, but the reality is we've seen guys late round, 4th, 5th, 6th rounders end up being stars in this league. Now, I know maybe that's more few or far between. There's reasons guys are drafted higher than lower, but all I'm saying is my biggest gripe is that, yeah, it's great to stockpile assets and have multiple picks in early rounds. I get that. You can have a bundle of high-quality talent versus one of the elite, like top 5 talents. I get that argument, but I think when you have an opportunity to take one of those guys, you should do it, especially considering the amount of draft capital we were able to build for this draft from last year and from the year before, where we do have a lot of picks already. So why do you eventually my last thing I got to say before Tallman talks here, they got to start drafting guys eventually.
I 100% agree. You can't just keep trading away your best picks, right? And
exactly.
And this is not Major League Baseball, right? This is not the NBA. This is the NFL, where you can have one down year, and then the next year you could be in contention to go on a really long playoff run. You know, that's just the nature of this league. There's no tanking for multiple years in the NFL. It's not how it works.
Look at how fast the 49ers turned it around.
Yeah, great, and they're probably the best team in the NFL.
One trade for Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy is a diamond in the rough. Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, I love Brock Purdy. Oh, Brock Purdy.
Game manager Brock Purdy, of course.
No, bullshit. Whoever thinks that needs to watch more fucking football. No, so this is not a... So let me start off... I'm squeaking on the chair. Let me start off where I stand. What I want is them to just keep it simple, silly. Draft Marvin Harrison, right? You already have the 27th pick, right? You can take care of, if you think you need a right tackle or whatever, another offensive lineman, you use that with the tackle draft class is huge. There's going to be a ton of great prospects come that 27th pick, courtesy of the Houston Texans, when we thought that we were going to have number 1 and number 2, right? Because they were going to be so bad. So, like, just keep it simple. Get Marvin Harrison. The only way I'll accept no Marvin Harrison is if... So I love the Vikings scenario is kind of nice, right? It's a nice scenario, right? Because the Vikings own the 11th pick and the 23rd pick in the first round. So we talked about the asking price was three first-round picks. So we get their 11th, we get their 23rd in the first round, and then we get their first-round pick next year in 2025. So that's 3 first-round picks, right? So say we do that. And the only way I'll accept it is if we can find a way to take that 11th pick and some of the other many picks that we have and the rest of the draft, because I think we have 6 or 7 picks in the top 100.
Probably.
I think
that
that's
sounds
right. Yeah, we have
yeah.
6 or 7 in the top 100. But
keep going. I'll make my point.
So the only way I'll accept it is we can take that 11th pick we get from the Vikings and we can somehow get ahead of the Bears and we take one of those top 3 wide receivers. I'll accept it if we get that extra first-round pick and we leave with either – it's probably going to be Rome Odunze. Neighbors is going right after Harrison. But if we get
if
one
the
of
Chargers have the pick.
If we get one of those 3 guys, sure.
This is in a scenario where we don't get Marvin Harrison Jr.
Correct. This is a scenario that we trade out.
Okay.
Right? So say you can take that 11th pick and then you can parlay a 3rd-round pick this year, a 2nd-round pick next year to trade up 3 spots to get ahead of the Bears to number 8 or somewhere in that scenario to get Roman Dunze. So then at 23, you can get your offensive tackle. At 27, you can get your edge rusher or you can get your cornerback. So then we're leaving the first round with outstanding players for our top 3 biggest needs: wide receiver, offensive line, and then either defensive edge, a pass rusher, or a cornerback, right? So that makes sense. But you cannot leave the first round without one of those top 3 wide receivers. That's such an important position.
100%, because our wide receiver room is very thin right now.
Oh, it's awful.
We've only been purging wide receivers.
It's gone.
Over the past. There's no wide
Who's
receiver
our number
room.
1? Is it Michael Wilson now?
It's Michael Wilson right now.
Oh, my fucking God.
Well, there you go. And
we
Greg
got
George,
him, folks.
He's made of glass.
We got him.
He's made of glass. So,
You have to get a receiver now, whether it's Harrison or Rome Odunze or Malik. Is it Malik Neighbors?
Mm-hmm.
You got to get one of those guys probably. And I get that those scenarios.
You have to. You can't.
At least I will take Rome or Malik as a consolation prize if I have to. But Mike, while I'm sitting here and my gears are turning, I'm thinking about like what you said. To build the capital, to get those future picks so you can build this team to be a more whole team, get those high draft picks. And what is so wrong with taking Marvin Harrison early and then you still have that late draft pick? You can trade that and maybe you get a first in something else, or maybe you get like a couple second. Like you can also probably parlay that late first round pick into some more picks as well.
And that's why I think we need to just calm down a little bit, because you just think about what happened last year after we traded out of 3, where Houston got Will Anderson. We were able to trade back up and get a tackle of the future in Paris Johnson. You guys don't think that Monty Austin-Ford is going to be wheeling and dealing on draft day to possibly move up more? Because of the capital. Like, you can't go in and take 12 players in the draft. Like,
no, you can't. That just doesn't
you can't
make
do
sense.
it.
Doesn't make sense.
You're going to be able to make trades. You're going to be able to move up and that kind of stuff. I'm 100% with you guys, man. Like, I think at this point, the fan base just needs a win, right? Like, and a win is Marvin Harrison Jr.
It is.
Something to be excited about.
A consolation is either Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze, because we know how good those prospects are as well. But the big win is Marvin Harrison Jr., and it's something that we need after these past 2 years. Yeah, we knew last year was going to be a dumpster fire, but the year before with Cliff Kingsbury, we didn't. We had just come off the playoffs. We thought we were going to take the next step.
A team with expectations. Yeah. What does a Valley team with expectations do?
Well, flame out, apparently. But
we're 15 games in, Michael. Jesus. There's 162.
I thought I was the eternal optimist. I guess I'm turning the wrong way.
Oh, my Lord.
But, yeah, I mean, you guys know. We've sat on this podcast, talked a whole bunch about how Marvin Harrison Jr. will just look beautiful in that black and red, baby. Like it's basically he can just take on another version of Ohio State uniform and possibly change the number. Like it's meant to be. The way that he's liking all these tweets about things that are basically falling his way for him going to the Arizona Cardinals, it seems like he wants to be here too. So I'm 100% in the camp. Like I stick and pick at this point. Like you know what you're going to get out of him, but if you have the ability to trade back, still get one of those top 3 wide receivers, maybe move forward, get one of those offensive linemen, because we know Jonah Williams is just kind of like a stopgap kind of guy. You need corner help. You need defensive end. We just need so much help. But a huge win would be taking that guy.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I'll just double down on that by saying, if Marvin Harrison Jr. is promised today, there's nothing promised tomorrow. Like, the next year's draft class could be dog shit, and we might not have a talent of that caliber that's available for us to take with any future pick that we might amass. Now, I get there's a large talent pool that's ever growing in college football, and these players that are coming up as, you know, football only gets more popular and popular. I get that, but when you want to build a team now, like, I think it's time. It's time for the Cardinals to start building a winner and not thinking about the future. We need to think about the now. And I think that starts with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Boom. Roasted. You nailed it. So it's no, he's the best player. He's the guy that it's an automatic pick. It's like picking Kyler Murray #1 overall, right? Granted, we can sit here and debate all day long whether that was right, but at the time that was a hey, put your money down, you're gonna win, right? You're gonna look good. That was the move. That was the #1 pick. That was the guy. So then if you look back at the past 15 years of all the drafts, dude, the last time we had this elite wide receiver talent come up where they're projected 3 guys projected in the top 10 was in 2011. Do you know what 2 guys went in the top 10?
And Quan Bolden and Larry Fitzgerald?
No, in 2011.
Oh, in 2011? Oh,
no,
fuck.
it was A.J. Green and Julio Jones.
Oh, shit, okay.
And those guys had pretty good careers,
They
right?
did.
Those were the top 2 elite wide receivers for a very solid chunk of time during their stay in the NFL.
Yeah.
So this is the last time that we've had this much hype around 3 guys, and the most surefire guy is going to be Marvin Harrison. Because the worst case scenario would be we trade out, and we have another situation where we could have drafted Trail Suggs, and we traded out, and we got 2 picks out of it. And the 2 guys that we have, I don't know their names off the top of my head, but they did absolutely
and
nothing.
There's a reason you don't know the 2
They
names.
did absolutely nothing
Wasn't
for
that
us.
Wasn't that Levi Brown?
Yep, Levi Brown was
okay,
definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. But you could have had one of the best pass rushers in the game for the longest time, who was a home product ASU guy, but you traded out. But anyway, so that could happen too, which is so out of the 3 guys, obviously NFL, it's so hard, but with wide receiver, it's not like quarterback, right? When you have all these quarterback prospects where, by the way, J.J. McCarthy is going to be the worst quarterback in the NFL. I am telling you that is VSP Tallman reporting. He's going to be the worst quarterback.
Isn't it crazy how
in
much
the
he's
NFL.
hopped up? Like, I
Dude,
feel like
that's
he's gonna
such
be bad.
bullshit. And then that guy on NFL, what the fuck was his name? That dumb piece of shit. Oh, the Cardinals should trade Kyler Murray to the Vikings and draft J.J.
yeah,
McCarthy. That was
yeah.
the most dog
Yikes.
shit. Oh, dude, that is literally the definition of
For
I want
clicks.
some clicks, man.
Yep.
Yep. Give me some FaceTime, because it's like Tom Brady on the podcast. Yeah, I would talk about a comeback to the NFL. Bullshit. Your old ass isn't coming back. You dropped the Patriots and the Raiders. You're not going to come back and play any football, dude. So that's that's just ridiculous, man. So J.J. McCarthy is going to be awful. But what I'm saying was, it's not like with all these quarterbacks. Is once we get closer to the draft, all the quarterbacks, their draft stock just shoots through the roof, right? But with these wide receivers, the hit percentage is so much higher with these guys. Where I mean, you see it on tape, dude. These guys were just so elite in college. Marvin Harrison was great. Malik Neighbors is basically Tyreek Hill but younger. That dude's going to be a stud. I believe it. Roman Dunze, dude, he's 6'3". He's got size. The boy can catch the ball. He's going to be great as well. So that's why I told you my dream scenario, if they traded out, was we got to have one of those 3.
Yeah.
Then I'll be happy. But I also started that entire monologue there was I want Marvin Harrison, keep it simple. Just bring him in.
Stick and pick.
Come on, bring him in.
I think it's the obvious choice. It's like a can't miss almost, it seems like. And I get what you're saying about those other receivers. That would be a great consolation prize. But regardless, they're gonna have to do something. I'll be very curious to see. Again, is this just the draft misinformation war where they're putting feelers out there? They're putting ideas out here. Yeah. Nobody knows what the Cardinals are gonna do. Nobody knows what any team is gonna do. Be sure that we're gonna keep you updated. We're gonna come back here on streams. We get at least once out a week, pretty sure, live streams. We got Diamondbacks recaps that are about to get started up. Suns recap is coming next week. We did a bit of a pause as we let them finish up their season, and then we'll do a season-ending recap, and then hopefully during their playoff push, as far as they can make it, we'll bring you a recap of every single playoff game for the Phoenix Suns. It's about to be very busy again here at Valley Sports Plug, but that's even more incentive for you to like and subscribe and keep tuning in. Check us out. Let us know what you think. Make sure you're active in the comments, letting us know your opinion, what you like, what you don't like, and we'll keep bringing it to you. But fellas, this has been a fucking action-packed episode as we talked about the Coyotes, the D-backs, the Suns, and our Arizona Cardinals. Hell yeah. Cheers, boys. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we get out of here? I'll start with you, Michael Benjamin.
You know, it's been a tough couple of weeks here in the Valley. I will be honest with you fellas, but it's always great to get back in Studio B.
Studio B.
Hello.
And chat it up about some Valley sports. So appreciate it. Excited for next month. Make sure you guys are staying tuned. Got a lot of stuff coming your way. So love you guys.
Hell yeah. What you got, Tallman?
Well, it's my turn. We didn't get to talk about or spend our 5 minutes on golf.
Oh, Scotty Scheffler. Oh.
So, no, actually, no, I don't want Scotty
Tiger
to win.
at the Masters.
So, right now, the Masters are going on. Tiger Woods did make the cut. Good for him. I think he set a record 24, I think it was 23 or 24 straight cuts made at Augusta National, 24. The Masters. I think it was 24. Yeah. So, hats off to him. But I'm looking out for my boy Max Homa, dude. He is the Twitter king. Or the X, what's it called now?
X-King, wait.
Yeah, that just doesn't sound right.
That doesn't. I don't know if that's gonna fly.
But the guy is undefeated on the internet. He's hilarious. If you don't, you should probably follow Max Homa. The guy is an absolute gem. But he's in third place right now, 5 under, 2 behind the leader, Scotty Scheffler. Going into Sunday, it's gonna be a very magical Sunday.
Hey,
so
last thing, didn't Bryson have a nice? Did he have an eagle on 18 today?
No, he chipped in for birdie. I watched it. Actually, that's why I was late. I was watching.
That was
yeah.
That long shot was a birdie.
Yeah, well, because he hit it into the woods.
Oh,
off the tee.
Boo.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why I was late.
See, this is why we don't talk about golf.
I was finishing the third round of the Masters, and then also my dogs wouldn't come inside. So, but yeah. Anyway, so if you guys are watching this, hopefully Max Homa is your 2024 Masters champion. He deserves it.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it shakes out. But guys, this was a great 28th episode of the Heat Check podcast. We're going to keep bringing you this specific podcast once a month on the Valley Sports Plug YouTube, as well as all streaming services, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We do weekly streams that we also get up on those streaming services. So make sure you like and subscribe. I'm sure if you've made it this far in the podcast, you have, and we thank you so much. But until next time, I'm Chris Patrick for VSP Tallman and Michael Benjamin. We'll see you next time. Peace.